Amy Peikoff is the Chief Policy Officer at the social media platform Parler, which you're going to have a hard time finding today because Amazon has removed them. Amy is, she has her BS in Math Applied Science, her JD at UCLA. She served as an editor on the UCLA Law Review. After she got her law degree, she went to USC where she earned her PhD in philosophy. She has taught at Southwestern Law School, Chapman University School of Law, and the United States Air Force Academy, also the University of North Carolina and University of Texas. So she really hasn't done a lot with her life, but we're going to cut her some slack today. Amy, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Glenn, for having me on. It'd be better if it was under good circumstances, right?
So this is terrifying, what is going on. And I think you guys are only the first. You're not the last. Tell me what happened, what's been going on, where this whole thing stands.
So basically, let me make one thing clear, which is that everybody agrees that all of this violence inciting content, or if people are organizing to have an insurrection, et cetera, that this content is wrong and doesn't belong.
Correct.
But that content has been everywhere in the last weeks, and this is a very extraordinary time that we're living in.
If I may say, Amy, it's not only everywhere. On the left, it is still online at Twitter. Still online.
Yes.
Okay.
And so in this context, we feel that, of course, we are being treated unfairly. We were given no notice. On Friday, we were told first by Apple and then by Amazon that if we didn't meet their expectations as to the handling of this huge flood of content, then they were just going to drop us completely. And, we have a philosophical model at Parler that we both were nonpartisan, that we believe in freedom of expression, but at the same time, we want to respect privacy of users so that, in the spirit of Section 230, the people who post the content are the ones who are responsible for the content. We are responsible for the content so long as we're taking reasonable steps once we become aware of the content. And what's happening in the market, because you have the established players of Facebook and Twitter using these algorithms to scan content constantly, 24/7, whether you have any particularized suspicion about a particular user or not, your content is scanned. That's becoming the standard of what's reasonable on the internet. And we say, no, we think that's an Orwellian standard and that we should go back to the model of the public square, where if you become aware that somebody is engaging in criminal activity, you take the appropriate action, which would be banning or reporting to law enforcement or both, right?
Mm-hmm. And humans are actually involved. Let me ask you, first of all, Apple did this, Amazon did this. They kind of all dogpiled on you. Is this a violation of any antitrust laws?
That is unclear, and I'm not an antitrust law expert about this, so I'm going to leave that. I am an academic lawyer, and I did a lot of research into the theoretical foundations of privacy, and I have a whole theory about that, and that's why I'm at Parler, right, because I share their affinity for privacy and for trying to implement it on the internet and prevent 1984 from becoming reality, right?
I know.
I'll leave that to them.
So Vice
is... It does mean that we're being pressured, right? We're pressured to conform to the exact same standards of content moderation and also data mining and algorithm scanning that our competitors use, that these entrenched big social media are using.
So they told us that if we would just build our own platform, that'd be fine. Now it's not build your own platform. It is build your own platform, create your own cloud, lay your own fiber. I mean, we're not welcome on anything. Anything. We're going to have our own banks, credit cards, and processing for everything. It's not reasonable.
No, exactly. It's not reasonable. And the people who have been the biggest detractors and the ones who are really trying to take us down, I think they need to ask themselves a question. Do they want to live in the world in which every single piece of content that you put on the internet is scanned by some algorithm for so-called wrong think 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, mind you, I agree that this activity is illegal, but once you introduce scanning, you use that scanning for anything. The door is open. And I think that you should not be surveilled in a free country unless there is some particularized suspicion about you. That's the spirit of the Fourth Amendment, and that's what we've been trying to do at Parler.
All right. So you agree with the speech that is plotting and planning violence, that should be moderated and removed. You just believe
Of course. Of
Okay.
course. It's the methodology that I disagree with.
Okay.
I mean, nobody, and at Parler, our goal has been to provide this nonpartisan town square for productive discussions on the important issues of the day. And if anything stops productive discussions because it stops the thinking behind them, it is force or threat of force. So, of course, we disagree with that content being on our platform. We don't want it there. And what all of us, every platform, even the ones with the algorithms have been struggling with is this huge flood of content in this extraordinary time. On Twitter, we had Hang Mike Pence trending, I think on Saturday. Saturday that was going on.
And they have the algorithm, but it was fine for them.
Yes.
Amy, how long before you are back up for business?
I can't say exactly. We are scrambling right now as we speak. And I guess being cut off was a little bit fortuitous because I got a message from our colleagues that out in the world of the hacker world, there is a reputable hacker who says that the allegations about Parler's data having been hacked are actually false. So we've had this happen before where people said there was a hack. So that's the latest that I've heard.
Are you going to, is there anybody in Congress or the Senate that is standing up for you? Do you have any allies?
I'm not sure. They're all preoccupied today, right? They're all preoccupied over there today.
Yeah. Let me just ask you the question that I asked you before we lost you. Isn't the silencing of voices a big part of the problem and the frustration that many Americans feel right now?
Definitely there are people who feel that if they don't have any meaningful way of persuasion, that their options are few, right? And so that is, I think, the frustration that you see out there. On Friday, when Twitter banned the president, a lot of people were flooding over to Parler. So if you think about the fact that we have been blamed for not supposedly, moderating to the extent of Twitter, although that's debatable because, again, the content's all over their site as well. Imagine that on Friday, where we had not expected this huge rush comes over, and it's precisely at that moment that we're told, get it under control in 24 hours or 48 hours, or you're gone. At exactly that time. And see if we've been treated fairly by our suppliers. I don't believe we have been.
Amy, we are in a mess, and we wish you all the best. And if there's anything we can do, and please stay in touch with us. As long as everybody understands freedom of speech with the common sense, you can't plot the overthrow of the United States. If everybody understands that.
Exactly. We are all on the same page. We are going to continue to do everything that we can to save civil discourse, free and open discourse on the internet while respecting privacy. I promise. We're on it.
What about the idea of these big tech companies being private companies so they have a right to violate freedom of speech?
Certainly they have a right to do it, okay? But right now what we have is we have a few players who are very established, who are dictating the terms. And in fact, Mark Zuckerberg Facebook was taking out ads in the New York Times recently calling for improved internet regulation. And what that means is that he would like to see regulations that mandate the sort of content moderation standards that Facebook uses. If they want to make that decision for themselves, that's fine. But they're even lobbying to have it put into law.
Amy, good luck. Chief Policy Officer at Parler. Again, we stand behind freedom of speech, and we'll help you any way we can, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet.